Episode 4 out here, Sunset 17 Studios. My man Cole is here. We're missing Charlie Townsend. Oh, Charlie Townsend, a.k.a. Murph, just walked in. It's the three-headed monster. And we about to get... If you guys don't know who Charlie Townsend is, then you guys are too young. Basically, Charlie's angel. Charlie Townsend is a person that you hear but you never see, and that's Murph. Murph is a big part of what we're doing. And so we're going to start this episode 4, as we always do, with some music. Let's go, Cole.
Hey, OG, could you tell me how to find some good weed? I need it on me, oh, so bad. That last bag was the best weed I ever had. Babe,
I got a good show today for you guys. I'm excited.
I can't
Got some breaking news we're going to talk about later on. It's the late, great Nate Dogg, Music and Me. True Story is one of my closest friends. Tell you guys about that another time. But those who know, know. Once again, Surviving J9, Sunset 17 Studios. Hope you guys have enjoyed the last few episodes. It will get better. It's only episode number 4. So we're going to get it started today. Again, this is your host, Terry Lamar. And I'm over here at Sunset 17 Studios. Cole, that's the engineer, makes everything happen. That's why the videos look nice. Come down here and check it out. So I was giving a lot of thought to something this week. And I was thinking about the subject, rock bottom. A person hitting rock bottom. The reason why I thought about it is because one of the reasons I initially wanted to do a podcast is because I was in a situation that made me feel like I was at rock bottom. Now, people would be like, how does a breakup make a person get to rock bottom? Well, I probably should go backwards some. I've said before, many times before, how I've been on a forced vacation before. And I've been to federal prison. I spent actually 6 years of my life in federal prison. And you would think that, for anybody that doesn't know, prison is the worst place in the world. I'm here to tell you that. I see a lot of people glorify it, but only people that haven't been there glorify it, because if you've been there, it's like I tell people it's 90% mental and 10% physical, right? There's a 10% chance you might have to get into an altercation, but 90% is the mental part you have to deal with, not being with your family. And everything that's in prison is just totally different from what you'd be on the street. You know, it's like segregation, there's racism, it's very, very stressful. Matter of fact, most people are in pill lines every night to take pills because they can't deal with doing the time. Now, you would think, I had a situation where I thought that I felt that I had hit rock bottom when I was in prison. It was December 31st, 2009. I was actually in the hole. And I remember it was just dawned on me that a new year was coming, and I was in here and I was all by myself, and I was so upset, and I had a breakdown. I don't think I've ever cried like that in my life, even when I had lost a family member. And something dawned on me. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at my kid's mom for walking out on me, some of my friends for walking out on me. I think I was mad at my parents. I was mad at the judge. Funny thing, I was mad at everybody except the person I should have been mad at, which was myself, because I was the reason I was in that situation. But that wasn't even my rock bottom moment. I fast forward to a couple years later, and I prided myself on being intelligent, being a smart person, and having expectations of myself. And I actually was on house arrest, and I had a business at the time in the court, the federal court. The judge wanted me to work where they could monitor what I had going on, monitor my income. Because, by the way, when the judge, they said I was an economic threat. So the things I was doing was fraud-based and was causing problems. And I remember I had to go get a job, so I had to stop working for my janitorial, and I had to go work. So I got a job at Cheesecake Factory. Yeah, I started at Cheesecake Factory, and I was a dishwasher. And I remember the first day I started, I walked to the back. I was back there by myself, and I said, I cannot believe that my life has come to this. is come to me washing dishes. And I actually broke down in the actual place where I was doing dishes at because I was that low. That was my rock bottom moment. Now, for some, they don't recover from the rock bottom. For me, it made me reevaluate my thought process in life and the things that, the decisions I was making, the people I was associating with. And a lot of times, some people don't get to that. I see a lot of people that I've known, people I went to school with, I see them walking down the street talking to themselves, unfortunately. Some people hit rock bottom they just can never recover from. And, you know, me and Murph had a conversation last week. He had a conversation with me about something. And he was explaining to me what my podcast was about, giving me some advice. And this, I tell people all the time, it's good for you to have somebody that is going to tell you the truth. Because if somebody has experience, you need to learn from that person. And some of the things he mentioned was, and it helped me, is because I wanted to do this to be, show people how to be better in my life moving forward. I actually took some notes so I can remember and try to empower others to get through their own troubling times. This is actually Murph's words that I've kind of paraphrased to help me remember what I was trying to say. And that's important because I got the whole Surviving J9 thing, you know, going on. And realistically, you know, I did it to be petty. I'm gonna be honest. You know, I was hurting and I was mad. So I thought, wow, what a great idea. Let me just do a Surviving J9 and this will show her. But after a while, that gets kind of cheesy. It gets kind of corny. It makes me look like I'm bitter. And I'm not bitter. I'm doing better. I've sort of healed from it. Still, certain things bother me about it. But I don't want to carry that energy on with me forever. I don't want to do that. I really want people to hear this and say that they were in certain situations or circumstances and they heard me and it made them feel different and want to make changes. So I always like to get my man Cole. I didn't tell him today what I was going to ask him, but we usually talk about it. But I want to ask you this question, Cole, and this is for everybody else. What is the biggest room in the world?
The biggest room in the world. Man, you stumped me there.
You got one guess?
Like in a house, you mean?
Just the biggest room in the world.
It's the great room.
Okay. Interesting. Murph probably knows, but the biggest room in the world is a room for improvement, right? We can always get better. We can always improve. I thought a lot this week about how the world is kind of like a game of Monopoly, right? You got some people living on Park Place. You got other people on Baltic Avenue. Certain people got utilities that they have to pay. Sometimes you can stop on a certain place and you get bad results. And sometimes people are going to jail without passing go, you know, and they have to pay a fine. And so I looked up the Monopoly and the meaning of it, right? And here's the interesting thing. So, you know, Monopoly really it requires a player landing on them to draw a card that may be favorable or unfavorable. A player continues to travel around the board until he or she is bankrupt. So it's interesting that the lady that initially, she had a landlord's game and she revised it, but her version didn't involve the concept of Monopoly. For her, the point of the game was to illustrate the potential exploitation of tenants by greedy landlords. And so, but the ultimate goal of Monopoly is to force people to go bankrupt by buying and developing pieces of property. And so sometimes we see in this world, a lot of us are in a Monopoly. We're going from, place to place. We're trying to figure out things, trying to figure out ourselves. Most of us are paying rent to somebody or paying money to the bank. And, you know, we're just trying to figure it out. And a lot of times we don't get any enjoyment. And so that brings me to another point that I want to make. And it's a story because, you know, I like stories. So let's say there was two people, they flipped homes. We know about flipping houses, right? They are house flippers. And so they drive to the house. One of the first person drives to the house and he pulls up on the house and he looks and he sees the roof of the house and it's kind of, leaking, it looks terrible outside. There's like damage and stuff like that. And so he doesn't even go out to get out the car. He just drives off. The next person comes and he sees the exact same thing. But you know what he decides to do? He decides to go inside and take a look. So when inside of he goes into the attic. You know, the attic is an important part of the house if you're inspecting it. He's seen 2-stage furnaces. He said it was insulated with and was rolled with fiberglass and had an R36. So then he goes into the basement and he sees brand new copper plumbing. Brand new copper plumbing. So he ended up repairing the driveway. He patches up the roof and he ends up making a considerable profit. So what was the point? What do you guys think? See, the point is he took the time to look inside the house. We all have to take the time out and look inside of a person, inside of people. And again, this has been a very eye-opening experience for me. You have a lot of pride. Somebody hurt you. It's painful to say that you were hurt. But I've been very, very fortunate in the situation to be able to learn. I mean, I was able to come down here and do a podcast. I tell people, look, podcasts, people think they're easy. They're really not easy. There's a lot of work that goes into it, from the videos being cut to somebody giving you an idea to having something to talk about. And I don't want to just be hearing myself talk. I mean, I can do that all day with one of my friends to talk. But I want to really be able to, help people to understand, look, if you've reached the point that you feel that you're at your rock bottom, there's always a way that you can get yourself out of it. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to feel that nothing will ever change, because circumstances can change. There was times, like I've said before, I was in federal prison. I had to look myself in the mirror and say, look, Terry, at some point, the onus is on me to make the change. I know it's a little cliche, the man in the mirror, but that's the truth. So we all have an opportunity to do things different. We don't have to be in our same situation. And here's the thing that you have to learn, another thing. So there's a little app named Reddit. And sometimes they post a lot of things on there. And I was having a conversation. I seen somebody post something about something. And he was worried about, it was some tax stuff on there, and he was seeing people on there getting all these tax returns. Now, the tax returns is, clearly got a little shady stuff going on. But he lives in Michigan, and I just made a conversation with him. And some of the things he was like, man, I'm working, and it's not fair, and all these other people, they're doing this and they're doing that. And here's the thing. The truth of the matter is just like the Monopoly game, right? Somebody has all the properties and somebody else doesn't. And a person like me that likes to play cards, blackjack and poker, if you go into the casino, I can promise you this. Somebody at the table is not winning. Everybody can't win. Now, in life, that doesn't mean that you're doing bad. Some people have to pay rent. Some people own homes. But you can't base who you are on everything else that's around. So your rock bottom, you might not get the house, the car, but somebody has to make sure that the people are fed. Somebody has to pick up the trash for people. You can have value in the things that you do that could just be as valuable as the CEO of a major company. And so that's very, very important for people to realize. So all this is basically important, and here's the reason. I shared with you the situation, about my daughter. Listen, I was called every name but the child of God. And some of it was deservedly so. Some of it wasn't. But I had to look at myself and say, you know what, in this aspect, I was wrong. It's the same thing in the situation with J9. Yeah, she said some things, but I had to look at myself and say, yeah, in this aspect, I was wrong. Again, like I said at the beginning, nobody ever deserves any type of abuse, no matter what. No matter what. But people, whoever watches this, whoever's listening to it, if you feel that you're at your low, it doesn't last forever. It doesn't. People might say, oh, yeah, well, people at home. It doesn't last forever. There's resources, there's ways, but it starts with yourself. You have to tell yourself. I had to tell myself when I was back there washing them dishes from a person that had a degree, who went to junior college, that had hoop dreams. I was a dishwasher making $11 an hour when in 2018 when in 1993, when I got my first job, I was making $10 an hour. But I had to tell myself, I wiped my tears, and guess what? The first month I got Employee of the Month. And they moved me up to something else. So, of course, that wasn't my main end goal. But I can either feel sorry for myself and stay at the rock bottom, or I can say, let me change and let me do stuff for the better. So, again, I was explaining something in the conversation that me and Charlie Townsend, a.k.a. Murph, had. I like to call him Charlie Townsend because, you don't see him, but you can hear him. And it really made me think about what direction I should take the podcast. And so he has experience. Me, him, and Cole talked about it. And so moving forward, we're leaving the Surviving J9. It's not going to be called Surviving J9 anymore. That part of my life is over here. I want people to be able to focus on other things. And so I have a new name that my podcast is going to be. Are you ready? The new podcast, which will be, the next episode we do will be episode 5, even though technically it's new. It's going to be called It's Never About the Cake. It's never about the cake. I'll give you a brief explanation of how this came up. My daughter, me and her and her mom were arguing about something. I went to go pick her up to be the mediator. Somebody ate her red velvet cake, her stepdad. They thought that she was mad about the cake. She wasn't mad about the cake. It's never about the cake. It's like any situation in this world. A lot of the things that we're really, really upset about is never actually that actual thing. It's something else that bothers you. If you're a spouse, maybe your husband didn't kiss you goodbye in the morning when he left for work, and so you come home and get mad at him about the dishes being, one dish being left in the sink. Well, it's not about it wasn't about the dish. It was about him leaving and not saying he loves you in the morning. So never about the cake. That gives us an opportunity for, I say us because the two of them helped me greatly. I'm just talking, but they're directing me to be like, hey, this is what's best. We're able to talk to more people, cover more subjects. So I hope to bring in some people to interview, to give you guys, something to listen to hear from other people, because if you just hear from me all the time, you're not going to want to, at some point, you're going to tune me out. And so that's where we're at. Again, I can't, I know this is the podcast, and I don't want to be, put in one box. So I have to thank Murph for all his advice, and taking the time to really guide me, because he has a lot of stuff that's got going on. He doesn't have to do that. I want to thank Cole for being an engineer, for being positive. These are two of the most positive people I'm telling you I've met in my life. They really, really are unbelievable. If you guys are thinking about doing the podcast, you just come check it out. But just don't take too much of their time, because I need them. But anyway, so that's what we're going to do. It's never about the cake. That's going to be it. The Surviving J9 is gone. That's a chapter in my life that's done. And it was a short episode, but I'm not going to talk just to talk. And so, you know what? One more thing, Cole. Highs and lows for the week. I'm sorry. We can't leave here without the highs and lows.
Shoot. All right. So I'd have to say my high was being able to go to 2 Angel games. I went Saturday and I went Monday. And the lows would be actually more for my brother's sake. He just got a brand new truck, had it for 6 hours. On our way back, someone lost control of their car and whipped basically into the side of us. So unfortunately for him, that bad boy might be totaled. So
wow. That is definitely a low. My high for the week was I got to spend time with my daughter. So the bonding, repairing the relationship was good. The low was me and her are doing good, and now her and her mom are not doing good. I mean, what can you expect? It's an 18-year-old. They're going to bump heads. But anyway, so I hope you guys stick around. I'm telling you, it's never about the cake. It's going to be different. We're different here. Going to bring you something that you guys can enjoy, you can learn from. If you got any questions, if you got anything you want to say, follow me on Instagram, Surviving J9. Probably going to change everything. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on TikTok. You can follow Cole, but you remember, don't follow us home. Let's do it, Cole. We're going to get up out of here. Thank you, guys. Once again, the late, great Nate Dogg. Sunset 17 Studios. Follow us. Be safe.
Another short story. When he be acting bad, don't he make you mad? Wanna kick his ass, but he already showed you he ain't no good, and that's a fact. Another sad story. She constantly says she adores me. Girl, I'm undone.